We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And by our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and check them out at www.crowdplayapp.com for details. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Well, good evening, Hamilton, and welcome to the show that you love to watch, only on the Sports Box Network. I am Hamilton Mike Galetta, along with Brian the Ranger Tard. And yes, folks, this is Highly Opinionated. Hello, Brian.
What's up, dude? Your hockey team stinks. We just talking about it.
Yeah, they've done a little bit of a slide. Their defense has gone, can we say, in the toilet. But yeah, that's a whole nother show and a whole lot of hostility. But glad to have you aboard tonight. We're going to have some more NFL action tonight. We got three big guests for you and a lot of our opinions. But first, of course, Brian will give you a little bit of backdrop on CrowdPlay.
Guys, we're brought to you by three wonderful sets of people. We obviously need to give them some dap as we go through the show. First and foremost, our friends over at Showcase Sports in Hamilton. You're in the market for athletic gear, really cool Under Armour stuff. Let them know that we sent you on 12th Street in Hamilton. Can't miss them. Special thanks to our friends over at CrowdPlay. Check out the free app on Apple's App Store, Google Play. Use our code THEBOX at sign up. Get 10 free points. And how could we forget Dave Birnbaum, Remax Community, the best Remax agency in all of the state of New Jersey. Make sure you let Dave know you're looking to buy, sell, or rent. Do it with Dave. His information is on the Facebook page.
So I do have to tell you,
yes.
I'm thankful we are apart, and we're not that we don't like seeing each other, but I'm glad that we are apart because our first guest that we bring on may flip tables, may throw crap, may just go off the rail. Yeah. So I'm glad I'm in the comfort of my own home where I'm protected over here. And I still might need a shield because he still might. He'll be
on. Anthony will be on just a few minutes. He's going to be all wired up for the Bears. We're doing the State of the Bears with our boy Anthony Amedio from the Baseline Jumper Show, noted Bears fan. We'll be doing the State of the Chargers second half of the show with Garth Patrick from the Sports Box on the Sweet Tea Show, as well as Drew Trammell from Game Winning Drive. So keep around for that.
Did we check Anthony if he's going to be medicated or no? He's not going to be.
I mean, it's only like March. Like as you get closer to
Listen, when you're a passionate fan of our teams like we are, you know this. Yeah. I mean, especially the states that they're in. When we get to that, I mean, he's going to be bent.
This I don't disagree with. But we'll get started real quick with some of the news of the week. Is the New York Giants? The New York Giants have been very, very. The Rock says very aggressive the last couple of weeks here because they're just spending cash. I mean, if they must have got a bigger stimulus check than anybody else because they have been really getting big name free agents here. And over the last week, since we did our last show, the two big names, Detroit Lions wide receiver Kenny Golladay, former Titans cornerback Adoree Jackson, both two big money deals. Mike, they have been very aggressive. They've been probably right up there with New England as far as the teams you can say have been super aggressive in this period of free agency. What does all of this mean to you? And do you think that that's right? Good money for Kenny Golladay?
Well, I think it's what we talked about kind of earlier this year. You had the big thing about Danny Dimes and that he shouldn't be the quarterback. Well, you know what? It's a situation where they're going out, they're getting him some weapons, and this is going to be showtime for him. He's got enough experience now. He's been in the system long enough. He's played, gotten his lumps and things like that. They are getting him some players. Okay, if you look at their depth chart now, Brian, of wide receivers, you're going to have Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, and Darius Slayton. Plus, you are going to have Evan Ingram. So, and you got, of course, Barkley coming back. I mean, it's going to be a slow comeback, but you're going to have him back there too. So, listen, if he doesn't get it done this year, they've upgraded the offensive line a little bit for him. They've really set everything in motion to kind of build around him. So, I think that's the focus here is to get ready for Danny Dimes to have a good year. And if he doesn't, this could be the year, like you said, this year, that they could be looking for another quarterback next year.
Well, listen, one thing I always say, and I do think it rings true, is when you bring in new coaches, they tend to want to work with their guys. And I always go back to the premier example of this has always been Greg Schiano when he went down to Tampa originally. Yep. When LeGarrette Blount was a perfectly fine running back, everything was fine. They go and they go take Doug Martin anyway because that's the guy that Schiano didn't work out, obviously. But you know what I mean by that. Yeah. So it wasn't as if Joe Judge was around. Gettleman was for whatever reason, but he wasn't around when Danny Dimes was drafted. A little too high, in my opinion. Not having that discussion tonight. Right. But like they're taking out every single excuse because either you're going to do it this year or you're not before they figure out if they need to go make a change. Okay. They got to pick up your 5th-year option coming into this offseason and this offseason after the season. What are we doing there? Which they're probably going to pick up, obviously, but they have to know, like, do we have the guy? Do we have the guy? And if they don't have the guy, they're going to just start to go get the guy because they're building up everything around him. So the receivers, again, so Galladay, the numbers are interesting. We're having some of this discussion with some of the boys as far as, is Kenny Galladay a number 1 receiver? Now, look, the 2 full years he's played in a pass-heavy offense in Detroit, 119 targets, 116 targets, 70 catches-ish, over 1,000 yards both year, actually almost 1,200 a year in 2019, 5 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns in 2019. Now, he missed most of last year, only played 5 games, and that team also hit the shitter pretty quickly. But
he wasn't the main guy there. I mean, he was the main guy, but you also had Jones there too, taking some heat off.
Sure.
That's the thing too. If you got one guy taking all the shots, yeah, it's easy to double him and things to that effect. But when you got guys like that mixing it back and forth, now, like you said, he steps into a Giants offense. If they want him to be the number 1 guy, he doesn't have to be the number 1 guy here now. Because with a healthy Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, they'll be fine. They'll all get balls. And that's fine. Maybe Kenny Galladay gets a couple here and there, but that's fine. They spread the ball around. Just like Tampa Bay did this year. They spread the ball around, give everybody a little shot at it.
So now the thing with Kyle Rudolph, I don't know if you saw that might be falling apart because now he's got a foot problem. They may just walk away from that contract.
That's just depth is all they're doing there. To a veteran guy to help out Evan Ingram. That's all that is.
But they are just padding it, right? And here's John Suggs. Galladay won't touch 750 yards. Now, I think that's low. I think they'll force feed him the ball to get that number.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, he's going to get catches. They're all going to get catches. They're going to throw the ball more this year. Why wouldn't you with those guys?
But what I'm saying is, though, they're so aggressive because you know what? They need to know what Danny Dimes is, because if they have to do this all over again, do it now, do it sooner. Like Saquon is look, running backs. I've been on the show many years saying you don't draft running back early. Well, they did. So now they're stuck there. He's going to get a deal.
Right.
You need to like maximize him now. Look at where Carolina is with Christian McCaffrey. Like now they're in a rebuild, just wasting him away. That's why they're so aggressive, trying to either get rid of him or to go get Deshaun Watson. He's on his own issues, but there's not a lot of time here to sit there and let it ramp up. So I understand what the Giants are doing, but I think they're very, very aggressive. The money is a lot for Galladay, like a lot for Galladay. Yeah. That's like Julio Jones type money. This is like up there. Yeah.
But if you're going to woo him away from somebody, you got to overpay. I mean, it's the same as that is. Maybe you went out and got the guys you needed and he was the last guy. And you say, okay, I'll give him a little bit extra. I mean, that's to woo him away from a team like that. He can go somewhere else. You don't want him to walk away. You want the guy to come in for an interview. If you like him, bang, you sign him, and that's it. It's over. Gets out of town, you're not going to sign him again.
What else? I mean, while I think that deal is high, like I understand why it was high. The deal to Adoree Jackson borderline's on egregious. Like I have no idea how that they're paying him that much money.
Yeah,
I don't think he's been very good.
Yeah, no, that was a little high. I agree with you there. I mean, they did go a little overboard on that, but you're going to make mistakes. I mean, this is what free agency is. I mean, unfortunately, the cap came down a little bit this year, so that's a little screwing.
He has 2 career interceptions.
Yeah.
2.
Well, I agree. They needed some secondary help, but I agree. You don't overpay the guy.
Right now, before the draft, before anything else, where do you have the Giants in the NFC East?
I would say if first, if not second. In the NFC East, you're talking, right? You said, yeah, I'd say first or second. I mean, Cowboys. You still got to say the Cowboys have a shot to win this division, but I put the Giants right up there. I mean, the Giants, they have a good shot. Washington's still in a rebuild, and you don't know what the Eagles are going to do this year.
No, I do. I know what the Eagles are going to do this year.
Yeah, they're not going to lead the division, obviously. But and a quick point on that: can anybody tell me, we're in a Philadelphia market here? If anybody doesn't know that, but why does everybody get jacked up? And this could be any team with Joe Flacco. Okay, a South Jersey guy coming up. Big deal. He's almost 40. He's not going to start. What do you get jacked up about a backup quarterback for? Oh, we're getting Nick Foles. Oh, we got Joe Flacco, Auburn kid, or Audubon kid. Who cares? He's not going to play. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I had to rant.
Whatever. Neither here nor there on show. Look, if I'm not really concerned about it's 4-1. It is 4-1. Devils over the wow. Oh boy. Okay. Well, before Mike gets depressed about his hockey team,
that's already there. So
we want to bring on one of the guys you see on Sundays when we do the NFL. Noted Bears fan, and listen, you want to talk about. I feel like the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where the guy's like, "There's pain in them eyes, and there's some pain in these eyes."
Yeah, just keep sharpening away from him right now. He's gonna get crazy. Stop it!
What's up, boys?
How are you?
Boy, Chicago and Miami, man, it's a double backer, man. You can't catch a break, can you, right now?
Yeah.
So, look, I have to ask you this, and I'm going to start with this because it always feels like when we're talking about the Chicago Bears, we are constantly talking about the quarterback position because it just never seems to get an answer.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, there was all of this talk about, they're going to mortgage the future to go get Russell Wilson. And here we are. And the starting quarterback is Andy Dalton. So before I even get into the second part of that, just give me your, what was just your instant knee-jerk Bears sign Andy Dalton on when you saw that? Probably from the sports box because we report things really quickly. But
correct.
Just walk me through a day in the life of Anthony Amedio when you found out the next Bears quarterback after guys like Mitch Trubisky and Rex Grossman and Nick Foles and Kyle Orton and a bunch of these. I mean, I could just go on forever. Yeah. That the next guy in the line is Andy Dalton. Floor is yours.
Well, straight anger. I just wanted to explode because, I mean, I work with guys. We talk about football here and there. So I come into work in the morning, and the guy's like, yo, I think they're going to get Andy Dalton. I said, no way in hell. There's no way in hell they're going to settle for Andy Dalton. And what do they do that day? They sign Andy Dalton, and I wanted to explode. And, I mean, here's the deal. It all started when Russell Wilson puts out his four teams he wants to play for, and the Bears are on the list. So automatically – the Bears are in need of a quarterback, so they're going to be in play. And what the organization did was kind of let it leak out that they're going to be in play, that they're going to just they'll do anything they can to get Russell Wilson. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't go through, and you get this quick knee-jerk reaction and sign Andy Dalton. Like, it's the way – all right. In my opinion, I never thought they were going to get Russell Wilson because I didn't think he's going to go anywhere. So I didn't have huge expectations on that. But the reaction time between getting rejected and getting Andy Dalton is like, it was so fast and there was no need for that. And I think that's where the fan base is kind of like in a total uproars because this happened and you settled for Andy Dalton. And that's where all the anger is coming from because the expectations were that the Bears were going to get this done, and it falls on the organization.
Well, that's the thing, though. So this was the rumored deal. Now, again, this is the Dan Patrick Show reporting this. This is nobody's confirmed this, and they're never going to because nothing ever came from it. But the rumor was 3 number 1 picks, a third. Don't know why that makes its way into the deal, but a third, and then 2 unnamed roster players. Obviously, Seattle said no. We will talk about the Seattle end of that with our Seahawks fans later on in the month that we're doing pre-draft. When you heard that was the offer, A, too much, too little, B, would you have made it?
It's a tough one. It really is because you're mortgaging a lot, but the Bears don't – it has to be that kind of deal because the Bears don't have any draft equity. I mean, they got the 20th pick. They don't have any quarterback that's desirable to come back into this trade. They just don't have it to get it done. So in order to get it done, you have to just throw all these first round picks in. And then rumors that it was possibly Mack in the deal. The rookie from last year, very good cornerback Johnson, possibly him. There, Hicks was possible. So it's like they had to make this deal so sweet. So it's really tough because they didn't have nothing to offer. As a fan, yes, get it done, and we'll go from there because the quarterback is going to make the players around him, as Russell Wilson does, better. You know,
I was going to say
they go backwards. You know, they try to surround a mediocre quarterback. You know what I mean? And it don't make any sense. You need the quarterback.
And I was going to say, even though you would get Russell Wilson in that deal, I mean, like you said, you're going up a lot. And those two guys that are named, you don't know who they are. So, like you said,
that's just rumors. Yeah, but yeah,
right. Two more big starters. I mean,
they had to be quality starters.
Right, two more big starters. Okay, then like you said, you mortgage your future. You get Russell Wilson here. You're in a rebuild anyway. I mean, then you're going to have 2 or 3 years to get back to what you were to get up to speed again. So I think that, I know that's a lot to give up.
Yeah, it's that's why it's such a tough situation because they really had to just throw everything at him to get it done, and it didn't get done. But then again, okay, it didn't get done. That's fine. All right. Why sign Andy Dalton within a day or two? There's other options. I mean, there's other things that could happen in this draft. Matt Ryan can become available. At the time, Mariota was available. There's just other options. Andy Dalton does not fit teams. They need a playmaking quarterback.
Or would you be okay with not signing Dalton, keeping Foles on the roster, trading a little bit of your future in the draft, moving up to into the top 10 maybe, and grabbing a quarterback there and starting over?
I'm like, I don't trust the guy to pick a quarterback. Yeah. I mean, let's go through the list. The guy's been there. Ryan Pace has been there for 7 years. Yeah. He signed Glennon, right? He's got Glennon. Then he goes and he drafts Trubisky, gives up all that for Trubisky. Then he gets Foles. Now he's going for Andy Dalton. That's 4 quarterbacks, total mediocre quarterbacks, 4 out of the 7 years he's been there. I mean, if that's not fired, we talk about Howie Roseman around here. If that's not fireable, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes, it's sad. It's sad. It's really sad because the team was ascending. Like that season, look, in my opinion, if that field goal goes in, the Bears are going to the Super Bowl because the next week the Rams are coming to Chicago, and there's no way they were beating them in Chicago. So that season was there right for them, and that kick destroyed everything, and that's where the downfall went. They don't have no trust in Mitch Trubisky, and Nagy don't like him, and it all went downhill because no one wanted to take the blame for that game. That's all. Stems from the kick.
Yeah, before I jump over to Brian, I just want to ask you, what are your thoughts on franchising Anthony Miller again?
Oh, you mean Allen Robinson?
I mean Allen Robinson. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't get it done, but then I'm not surprised because that's the kind of stuff that they do. I mean, Allen Robinson's making a lot of money. I mean, $18 million a year. He's like, and the in my opinion, the wide receiver market, I mean, isn't going crazy. So he's still getting top dollar. But the problem with Allen Robinson is he wants a quarterback so bad. He wants that security. He wants that security.
To your point, Mike, I don't think that the Bears are in a position to blow it up again. No, because your defense is borderline elite, if not elite now. Like you can't go and get another quarterback and start this clock all over again. So, you know, in a year where there was all this talk of quarterbacks moving around, like you felt that a team that was in the sweet spot for that would have been the Bears because they had a clear need. And then nothing came of it. Like, I don't think anybody's really moved around outside of Mitch to Buffalo. Like, nobody's really all this talk of quarterbacks moving around. Now, the Bears were in on Wentz, didn't get done.
Right.
I don't know how much they were in on Wentz or if that was always going to be a fait accompli in Indianapolis, but they were supposedly in those discussions. It's not as if Indy gave up the world to go get him either. So if the Bears weren't going to give up that for Wentz, then they weren't really in on Wentz either. Yeah. But you know, we talk about the cap, and again, you bring up Allen Robinson. He's second year on a franchise tag. $18 million is no joke. Is a solid cap number for 1 year, and really, he's been the constant. He has produced despite whatever schmuck they have at quarterback, and I mean that wholeheartedly because they've been schmuck. I mean, there's nobody been any good
Yeah.
So his numbers have been stellar. But the way it looks, I don't see any situation where he's there after this season. There's no third franchise tag.
He could be traded. He could be traded. You know, something. You know, he could force his way out if he really wanted to.
And I understand. I understand you don't want to blow it up, and that's you know, a logical point. But the other side is, this team offensively cannot move the ball. The running back situation is not good either.
No, they fixed their running back. Montgomery's going to be a good player. They need offensive line.
They need an offensive line, correct?
Offensive line. It all stems from that, you know.
Right. But now, Ant, how would you feel of Trubisky over Dalton? Do you feel that's a better, you know, Dalton's a better upgrade or about the same?
No. Mitch can move. I mean, this offense needs a play-making quarterback, not
with a bad offensive line. He can't run. Right.
Yes, they need a guy with mobility that can make plays, and Andy Dalton is not going to do that at this point in his career. So Mitch was the better option. They just burned the bridge, and it was never going to happen. Nagy, him, never got it. So it just and Mitch wasn't going to go back. He don't deserve to go back. The way they treated him, the way he was treated out there. He's a scapegoat of everything, and I don't truly believe it's all his fault.
I will get to the comments. I assure you, those who are commenting, we definitely will get to that. Yeah. But
you got to go out of line then, starting the draft. You got to start building that lineup. You got to, go there, back for a year or two, and go that route.
And that's a possibility in this year's draft. I mean, there's offensive linemen there, so it all depends what they want to do in the draft. But I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing them drafted a lineman 20. Yep. I mean, they actually signed a lineman today, the guy from Denver. So it seems like they want to work in that direction, but that's where they need to go. I mean, they protect the
definitely get a good lineman at 22.
But I also think they need to figure out long-term wide receiver, because now if Robinson's not part of the longer-term solution, and I don't think you can make a cogent case that he is. I mean, if you haven't signed him by now, you're not going to. And Anthony Miller has been fool's gold, and I fell for it last year in the 8th or 9th round of my fantasy draft, because I said, I've seen some big games out of this guy, mostly against Detroit, but I've seen some big games where, he has some talent. Is he ever going to be the Robin to Allen Robinson's Batman? Because I think Batman's leaving, and I don't know what's going to happen to the number 2 spot. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if they were in the market for a receiver, and we're going to get to the draft pick, but where are you on Miller? Like, has this run its course?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a real big fan of Anthony Miller. I mean, if you watch their games, I mean, he makes a lot of stupid plays. He makes good plays, but he makes a lot of stupid plays. And I think the Bears, he drew the line with the Bears when he got ejected in that Saints game. I mean, that was a ridiculous play, killed momentum of the game. It was a big play in the game. It was a selfish play. I mean, as a coach, I mean, old school, he wouldn't have seen the field ever again, and I don't think he is as a Bear. I think they're gonna get trade offers, and I think they'll accept it. And the wide receiver Mooney last year is better than Miller, so look out for Mooney this year. He's gonna have a good year.
Brandon Gazzara did mention that. A couple of the comments coming in. Tom Scavetta from Review and Preview. Don't understand why Mitch was let go for Andy Dalton. Nagy might have to go. And talk about somebody who is a cat with 9 lives. I have absolutely no idea how this man is still employed. At every single juncture at the quarterback position, the single most important position in the sport, they have made the wrong decision. You have to try to be that bad the way that they've made the decisions that they have made. This has taken effort to be this bad. A blind person, a flip of a coin gets better results than the results that this team has had, unfortunately for you.
I mean,
Brandon wants to know do the Bears still have a chance to get Russell Wilson? I don't think so.
That ship sailed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it sailed for this season. I mean, again, you move it forward.
All that does is include Andy Dalton in the trade going to Seattle. I mean, and that's not going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just,
And then John says,
like I said, I'm just disappointed with the knee-jerk reaction assigning Andy Dalton.
Is he the scapegoat now? And if it doesn't work out this year, do you just blame it on, at what point does it come down to this coaching staff and this front office? At what point?
Yeah,
you just say, okay.
I mean, from what you hear, this is their year. I mean, their jobs are on the line. But then again, are your jobs really on the line when you're gonna get Andy Dalton to represent you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, are their jobs really on the line? That move don't make sense. If you're on the hot seat, you can't rely on Andy Dalton. You know what I mean? It's just like, so what's really going on? That's what's scary, and I don't trust them in the draft. I mean, Mike, like you said, you could trade up. I mean, he did trade up, and he got Trubisky.
Yeah,
so,
he got suckered into that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an insane situation. It's like a team, an organization that just wants to just go and be mediocre. They're okay with being mediocre,
and
down,
you know,
find a season here and there, have a good defense. It's the same old. And
yeah,
it's just super frustrating.
And not to pour gas on this, but you look at that draft where they got Trubisky. I mean, he moved up a spot and he gave up a ton to move up a spot where the 49ers were already getting that guy anyway. And all they did was drop back a spot and got the same guy and got more out of the Bears to get Trubisky, who they end up getting rid of. So it's just brutal.
Mike, every April on my Facebook timeline, when Trubisky got drafted, my reaction that comes up, and I might have to post it this year.
That is crazy. The guy played 14 games his senior year at North Carolina, and he drafted him number 2 overall.
You pick a guy, you pass on a guy in Watson who beat Nick Saban.
Yep.
Yeah. Kyle Fuller, a cap casualty, ends up in Denver, reunited with Vic Fangio. You know, it's funny. Like, normally the teams that are up against the cap are up against it because they've been succeeding. Like they've had teams to keep together and they've been competing and, you know, they've been doing something. I mean, the Bears made the playoffs last year by the skin of their teeth. Thank you to Arizona. And they were quickly dispatched in that Nickelodeon slime game, or I think it was. I think that was a playoff game.
Yeah.
So it just feels like, if there is any team in the league that feels like they're spinning their wheels, I don't know if there's a better example than the Bears. I hate to tell you that because I like you, but it's just like,
you're right.
I mean, Kyle Fuller's an all-pro cornerback.
Yeah.
Just dispatched.
Well, in this situation, I think they chose Hakeem Hicks, over Kyle Fuller because it was either one of them. They couldn't lose them both. So in this situation, I think they went with the defensive lineman, which I think is the correct move. And then they moved on. They went and signed Trufant, to a 1-year cheap deal, serviceable player, so quick patch there. So I think they made the right decision. It's unfortunate they had to, like you said, Kyle Fuller's a good player. He's a real deal. So, but I think they chose Hicks over Fuller.
But the three of us will agree on this. If you just give Allen Robinson a deal and his cap number is not $19 million, then you can do things. Like you're doing this to yourself.
Yeah.
By not get and Robinson has never on a Mike or he's never been like a bad guy there, right? It's not as if he said
never.
Like, I don't want to play for you.
No,
I'd like to get paid, please.
Yeah. He's been a good soldier, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you see what guys like Galladay just got in New York, and his cap number next year is like $4 million or some nonsense. Like, you can keep a team together if you structure this stuff the right way. Like, I just have no clue what their front office is doing and why.
It's amazing. I agree. It's just befuddling. Like, what's going on inside the organization, and it's like, in a player's mind, you got to be like, what the hell? I'm playing for this team that's just no one knows the direction we want to go. Are we rebuilding? Are we going for a quarterback? What are we doing? It's madness. And there's 2 guys running the team that are on the hot seat supposedly. So, yes, it's crazy. And the season hasn't started. It hasn't even started.
Frustration at its best. Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's a mess. It's just it's depressing. It's depressing. I almost did your attire boycott. I considered not wearing any.
It didn't work for me though. I mean, the coach got fired, but it didn't really. It didn't really work.
Like, I just walk around my head low. It's a shame.
Mike, was there anything else you had?
No.
So
I think Ant's been through enough. I don't.
They're picking 20th, which is like not ideal, right? Because that means you made the playoffs. So like normally they'd be like, oh, cool, we made the playoffs, but like it wasn't even like they were competitive in the game. And like if not for the third wild card, they don't make the playoffs, and they're maybe in a better spot to pick a better draft. But they're sitting at 20, neither here nor there. I don't think this is a quarterback pick. Where are you with it? Is this something where you want them to go get an offensive weapon? Is it something where you want to continue to pad the defense? Because it's like these dollars are going to come due on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean they got to make a decision on what direction they want to go. I mean, I think the defense is good enough to be a top 10 to 15 defense, and I think that's all they need. And then they can start to really concentrate on the offensive side of the ball. And I would not mind if they took the best available lineman at 20th, or they're interested in wide receiver because they talked to Galladay, so they showed him interest. So
with what money?
I heard a 1-year deal they only offered him.
Yeah, but isn't that a slap in the face to your own guy?
Yes, I mean they give Allen Robinson the tag and then they go talk to Galladay.
That makes no sense. Come on, that makes no sense.
I know, it's so
and Robinson's been a good boy. He's been a good soldier, and
he's fine. Yes,
right.
Yes.
With all the crap that they've had.
So I mean, come on. God bless you, bud. I feel very bad. I do. Yes. You're a very devout fan of this team, and they just continually. Again, it takes effort to screw this up. The way that they have it hasn't. So obviously you'll be part of draft night coverage, so we'll get to see your live reactions to the next mistake this team makes live and in living color. So it is what it is. So
we love you, Ant.
All right, we beat you up enough. You can go. Class is dismissed for you.
All right, guys. Hey, check me out tomorrow night, boys.
Baseline Jumper, our basketball show, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. He's on with Quig, and the occasional appearance by Paul Allen, if he's not doing anything else, comes on the show as well. Yeah. So,
all right, boys.
Take care.
Thank you.
Got it.
Anthony Amedio, a lot of pain in those eyes. I told you. I told you there's going to be a lot of pain in those eyes. We go from a team that's either spinning their wheels or angling low to a team I think both of us feel is on the upswing in a pretty big way. And we're going to bring special guests on from Game Winning Drive. We have Drew Trammell, and from our own Sweet Tea, we have Garth Patrick as Charger fans. Gentlemen, welcome to the Highly Opinionated Show.
Oh, Mike, can't hear you.
Who am I not hearing?
Yeah, here. Yep.
Hopefully you guys can hear me.
Garth, I hear you.
Garth, we got you.
You guys.
Yep.
I think Drew's got a mic. Drew's muted.
Yeah, Drew, you're on mute. You're on mute, Drew. You're on mute. You're on mute.
He got it. He'll get there.
Okay.
Drew knows what he's doing.
Yeah. How you doing, Garth?
Doing great. Really excited from what I've seen from my Chargers so far. Definitely a lot of hope there, and looking forward to hopefully a much better season.
Yeah.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
There we go.
It's been a minute
since voice to match the face. All right. So we have, again, from the Sweet Tea Show, Garth Patrick is on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Right on the Sports Box. And then from Game Winning Drive, Drew Trammell from the boys over there. Very devout Chargers fans. And listen, I'm going to jump right into it. I will give Mike a ton of credit for this. I mean, I'm wrong all the time. Mike's right periodically. And when Mike is right, he usually gets it really right. And he did get it right on Justin Herbert. So he was all about Justin Herbert, like 6 to midnight about this kid. Like he wanted him in Tampa Bay before they got Brady. And then he was razzed for not wanting Brady. I'm not going into that tonight. But I don't think you could have asked for much more from the 6th overall pick in year one. Clearly outshined the guy that was taken at 5 and arguably outshined the guy that was taken at 1 and probably would have even if he didn't get hurt. We're here because of a medical mishap, which makes the whole thing that much more funny. But just, I'll start with you. Just your first impressions of the offensive rookie of the year.
Listen, we did the show last year at this date. I mean, pretty much I was really indecisive. We didn't know what Miami was going to do. I was okay with Tua. I was okay with Herbert. I just knew I knew that we needed a quarterback when Rivers was gone. So Herbert is actually he exceeded my expectations by a landslide. Great arm. It's nice to see that a quarterback can extend the play after dealing with Rivers for 17 years. God, I love him so much. But, seeing Herbert in the pocket and extending the play was a breath of fresh air for a Charger fan. And commanding the offense, high IQ, a rocket arm, be able to throw on the run, which is one of the most hardest things to do in the NFL. Coming out of college into the NFL is because it gains faster. He exceeded my expectations by a landslide, fellas. I'm really happy and really, really blessed to see the maturity that he was able to go through his first year, especially with all the all the uncertainty and all the inconsistency in our offensive line and our defense and our head coach. Be able to be an ultimate leader and an ultimate pro. I'm really excited to see how he's going to be his sophomore season coming up in 2021.
Garth?
Yeah, and as Drew said there, obviously I knew we had to go quarterback in the first round and get somebody for the future. With Tyrod being the journeyman, obviously, he wasn't going to be the guy for the franchise. And Easton Stick showing nothing that shouted that he could be our franchise guy.
Great hockey name.
Yeah, most definitely.
Easton Stick's a great hockey name.
I was a little bit weary of Justin Herbert. Obviously I wasn't upset that we got him. I was really excited. He was one of the quarterbacks in the draft that I did like. But I think, coming out, he was a very raw talent. We all saw the physical aspects. We knew that he had 4 different offensive coordinators in his time at Oregon. So he was good at adjusting and changing systems. And, the football IQ was there. It was it going to translate to the NFL? And I know a lot of critics of his was the fact that he didn't have the best ball placement. He didn't make the best throws, and there was a lot to be desired. As the Chargers kind of poked fun at that earlier in the week with a meme they posted. But like Drew said, I was happy with Herbert or Tua there. I knew we weren't going to get Burrow. We all knew he was going number 1 overall. And he just completely exceeded expectations. One thing that I personally was hammering home over on the Sweet Tea when we're talking about who should be Rookie of the Year and talking about Herbert specifically is how well he did under pressure. And as Drew said, it was great to see somebody who could extend the play. PFF rankings came out for offensive line units in the NFL. And to no surprise, the Chargers ranked dead last. Something that I've been screaming we need to improve, as Phillip Rivers, who was way less mobile, suffered with lines much like the one Herbert had. And it looks so far throughout free agency that we're going to invest in it, and hopefully that continues to improve because it's only going to make Herbert's job easier and help with him improving even further.
Well, what's interesting? When we talked about this, about the whole Herbert situation, I think, Drew, we had brought it up a while back that we figured he was going to be in week 7 or 8 because we figured Tyrod would play for a little while, and Anthony Davis wasn't putting him in because his boy was Tyrod and he wanted him. And by the luck of the Irish, the athletic director or whatever, athletic trainer, whatever, punctures Tyrod's lung, and Herbert's got to get in there. Now Herbert,
that's MVP right there.
Right, he got better and better as the year went on. This was the kind of year for him that there was really no expectations for him to really be on top of the heap. He took his lumps. He learned. He came back in the fourth quarter a bunch of times. I mean, that's phenomenal to see out of a young kid in a situation like this. He gets thrown in the 3rd, 4th game of the year, and he's the man. So I think you even got more expectations for him to be that much better next year. And I think he's going to do it. I think he's really got a head start, and a really smart kid and really pick up the offense. I mean, you just see that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, like we talked about, it does hurt a little bit with Anthony Lynn leaving that he has to change systems again and figure the systems out because with Staley and the offensive corner, it's a lot of run schemes and zones. So he's going to have to learn that. That's why we need offensive linemen. Like my boy Garth said, it's basically interior and tackle. Guard and tackle is what we're looking at. We signed Matt Fleer and we signed the cat from Green Bay, which is one of my favorite signings of the free agent period. Point blank, because he was ranked number 1, I believe, in PFF in blocking. So for Green Bay. So I mean, it's huge. It's huge signings. I'm glad what Tom Telesco is doing, which is I have the ultimate trust in. But for me, like you said, Mike, Herbert just needs to improve in the decision making in crunch time. A couple interceptions in the red zone, throwing away from his shoulder against the Chiefs game in week 2. There's just there's always improvements to your game, and to me it seems like he's gonna take the sky's the limit and just run it out, man. He's just gonna be a beast. The only issue I have with him heading into this next season is the new offense and the fact that he's an introvert, so he's not really much of a leader. So I like to see a little bit more of a rah-rah type of quarterback in my quarterback. But I mean, like I said, the sky's the limit for this kid. I'm happy I have him in my dynasty league.
And yeah, obviously, and you mentioned that they've been active in the free agency side of things, and they address the offensive line in big ways. Again, Corey Linsley, the All-Pro center out of Green Bay with a new home, nice deal there. And you mentioned obviously the tackle Matt Flyer as well. The tight end was a change, but I think it was a change that was expected. I've been an unabashed Hunter Henry fan for a number of years. I've always wanted him to find his way onto the Dallas Cowboys. That has not materialized. He ends up signing in New England, but they go ahead and bring in a veteran tight end for a 1-year deal in Jared Cook, who's been around the block now on a couple teams with really excellent quarterbacks. So definitely, I think, a safety valve, pretty good one for Justin Herbert, and obviously released Casey Hayward and Trey Turner. I guess to the both of you, any surprise that Henry's gone, and your thoughts on replacing him with a veteran versus a younger guy?
Right. So I guess I'll take this one first, Brian. So much like you said, I was not expecting Hunter Henry to stay. It wasn't so much the fact that the team didn't want him there. It was the fact that the kind of money he was going to be wanting and with the market, what he was going to command. And the numbers just didn't match up. All season I was saying, if we're going to pay Hunter Henry big time money, top 3, top 5 tight end in the league kind of money, he's got to have the season to back it up. And unfortunately, he didn't have the numbers that screamed, hey, pay this guy big time money to lock him down long term. I feel like he's one of those guys where we kept saying, hey, this guy's going to be something special. The talent's there, the skill set's there, but it just never came to fruition. And, I wish the best for him. I hope at some point he does. He becomes a top 3 tight end in the league. But we can't pay him money on hopes. It is a business at the end of the day. We got to do what's best for the team as a whole. So I definitely saw it coming unless he was willing to take a massive pay cut to stay on the team. As far as the Jared Cook signing goes, I like that a lot because there's a guy behind him, Donald Parham, who, didn't put up crazy numbers last year, but he is a very, very special talent. I feel like he has a fantastic gift set. He's a really big guy who can move and catch in traffic. I hope that he can kind of have a mentor role and, help him progress and potentially have him take over at tight end number 1. And who knows, we might draft somebody as well. I know me and Drew are both hoping that by miracle, Kyle Pitts falls to us in the first round.
That ain't gonna happen. I just like it.
Hey, we could dream. Just for me to input on that, Brian. Garth, hit the head on the nail. The thing with me though, it scares me a little bit on the Parham and the re-signing of the tight end that we signed up today. I forgot his name, and Jared Cook. They don't block. So that's the issue with Farham. He's the best he can be is a chip blocker. So we got to teach him how to block. If we're going to go with this offense that they're going to go with, it's a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of schemes, a lot of zone running. So I hope and I pray to God that they have something up their sleeves when it comes to that to figure out what the offense they're going to be running and how they're going to run it with the tight ends that we have on the roster. Jared Cook was a great supply and demand type of dude that we can install. He's familiar with the AFC West, being on the Raiders for a couple of seasons. So I was okay with it. Overall, the Hunter Henry thing, like Garth said, very inconsistent. Can't match up with the numbers with the pay that he was wanting. The injuries is what scares me the most. He's too brittle for me. I just can never play a full season, and when he does play a full season, it seems like he's hesitant on a lot of his route running. In the red zone, he was targeted a lot, and he was pretty, productive in the red zone. But in totality, it's hard when you're a Charger fan, or if you're a Cowboy fan, or if you're a Buccaneers fan, to measure up someone like Hunter Henry, who is supposed to be the next Antonio Gates. And that's the problem we have here in Charger land, is that we have to compare these players to, players that we had before. Like when Ryan Matthews got drafted, I already knew at the end of the day that he was going to be a bust because everybody parked him to be the next LT when he couldn't touch LT's jockstrap. And so now we got to get players that, don't resemble this comparison. And we got to get players that, that can benefit this team. I can't wait to see what we're going to do this year with the actually healthy defense, knock on wood.
Well, my question, that's where I was going next, Drew, to both of you guys, to Garth too, is that do you have any kind of concern? I mean, this Chargers defense could be really, really good, considering you haven't had a guy back there who's an absolute stud for the last 2 years and had a major injury in Derwin James. Now, there's a guy that I was hoping for the Bucs would get that year, and of course, I went nuts for the video.
We have video evidence of this. Yes,
that's a whole nother story. But anyway,
which was a great pick, by the way.
Yeah, whatever. So, with that being said, do you guys have any concern? I mean, with him, he's had 2 major injuries that he's been knocked out for 2 years in a row now. Is there any concerns of him coming back and possibly getting hurt again?
Yeah, obviously there's going to be major concern there. Injuries suck, and it seems like our Chargers always, our best players are getting hurt left and right. It never fails. I will say that I follow him pretty closely on social media and stuff like that. And he's definitely back to 100%. He's doing all kinds of crazy drills on that, leg that had the torn ACL. So as far as being ready to play, being healed up, definitely he's there. We just got to hope that he doesn't get injured again. And as far as the Chargers defense as a whole, with Staley coming in, a defensive-minded coach, there's a lot of hope and reason to be really optimistic that we're going to have, a great defense. I will say that the depth at the defensive back position does worry me a little bit. We did let Casey Hayward go, unfortunately, and we haven't signed anybody yet in free agency other than we did keep Michael Davis, who I love. That guy is really, really good. I'm glad that we did lock him down long term. But outside of him, we have Chris Harris, who's going to be 32. He just came off, I believe, the first major injury of his career. So, between that and aging, that doesn't really make you too excited. And on top of that, he's more of a slot guy versus a number 2 DB to begin with. And then we have Derwin coming back. Obviously, he's phenomenal. We've seen how good he can be when healthy. And then we have most likely Nasir Adderee coming in and playing the free safety position. So, I do have a little bit of concerns at the defensive tackle and the defensive end position outside of Joey Bosa because Melvin Ingram is most likely not getting re-signed. And a little bit of question for the DB depth, but I do have a lot of optimism that this defense can be good if we stay healthy.
Yeah, Mike. For me, yeah, definitely, I have a lot of optimism for this defense. I agree with Garth a lot. Derwin James, you already know what Derwin James could do when we saw him in that year that he played. I mean, he shut down Travis Kelce all game in Kansas City. If you guys remember that game when we came back and won extra point with Mike Williams. Joey Bosa. Melvin Ingram letting him go was the best decision we could make. We don't need to sign him back. It seems like he's more into rap music than it is about playing football. So I really don't need Ingram back. For me though, Casey Hayward had to go. Like Brian and I talked about, that cap was getting too big for a guy who's getting burnt left and right. And at times Michael Davis seemed like our best corner, and he actually is. So I mean, it was a great signing him back. I really want to see, guys. I really want to see the development of Murray. We traded, a second and I believe it was a second and a third. I don't recall, but for a middle linebacker that was supposed to be the next big thing. A lot of inconsistency is real clear.
37 and 71 to go up to 23. Yep.
So I mean, we passed on some key guys for him, and we haven't had a solid middle of the force captain since Junior Seau. If that's how long it's been since we had a captain at middle linebacker that can be the force, to be the will, be the Mike, whatever you want him to be, and he could play from sideline to sideline in a quick speed. He has the tools to be that. It's just his IQ. His IQ needs to develop this IQ of his to get this game going on the defensive side. Other than that, I'm really ecstatic to see what this defense can do. Also, Tillery, it's been a bust. Defensive tackle. We have issues. That's why I'm really excited. I'm pretty sure Garth and we talked about this. Is that pick 13? The pick before this is the New York Giants. It's going to be really interesting to see what the Giants are going to do because, like Garth just said, either we go with tackle or we go with interior guard with AVG, who's rated as the best guard coming out of USC, or we go with a corner. When there's going to be tons of corners, Surtain, Farley. I don't want him now because of surgery, but And then the other cat, I can't think of his name right now, JC something. But anyways, there's it's gonna be really interesting to see what the Chargers are gonna do. I mean, I want to be against them trading back. I'll tell you that much.
I'll tell you, Drew. I think this is 100% easy draft for the Chargers. You've got to go O-line. You've got to protect your investment now. And now you got
though.
You got a kid there that's going to be there for the long haul, and he's shown in his first year again that didn't mean anything, that he can learn this offense and move forward. You got to protect him now. Now you build around him, you get that line strong, gives him more time to read defenses, and he's just going to pick apart people. To me, that's an easy plan. It really is.
I was very vocal about, just to go back to this point, of them not making a change of head coach. I've seen too many quarterbacks go through where they change coaches, they change systems, and all of a sudden, like, you never really ever get to really what that quarterback can become because he's constantly learning new offenses and everything else. I've done a 180 on this one, not because it then happened, but the more I thought about it, prior to the Chargers going on that 4-game run at the end of the year to screw up their draft pick, Drew, they were 3-16 in one-score games going back to 2019. And that's coaching to me, right? Like, that's something where you have the talent to be in these games. And I've always felt, even honestly going back to those Rivers years, that the Chargers were the best team to never win anything because they were always so good. They just never could get over the hump. And like, you just didn't want to see that starting again with a newer nucleus where, like, you just keep finding new and exciting ways to lose these games. And like, you had to break that. And again, if Anthony Lynn's the fall guy for that, that's fine. They bring in a defensive guy in Staley who just crosses the field in the new building over from the Rams. But, he's going to handle the defense. I think the defense is going to be just fine. I have offensive questions now because I have questions at wide receiver. So Mike Williams is now entering his 5th-year option. He's getting paid $15.7 million. And we just got done talking about Allen Robinson on the franchise deal with Chicago getting paid like 18, 19, just obscene money. Yeah. They're not in a bad cap position. They actually have the 6th most cap space in the league right now at 27.5. So it's not as if, they're up against it. That's a good thing. But arguably, he hasn't really turned into that elite number 1 guy that you put that high pick into. So, will he, this is both of you, obviously, will he be offered a long-term deal? And B, should he be offered a long-term deal?
Go ahead.
Question. That's a 4-2.
Yeah, a lot of money.
I'm going to go ahead and
a lot of money in wide receivers.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that he's not going to be getting a long-term deal. Much like Hunter Henry, the consistency just isn't there. I know he had a lot of injuries that he had to overcome early on, and then he gave us that one really good season in 2019 that made us think that, finally he's here. Finally, this is the guy that we put such a high round pick into, and here we go. Last season,
this is the first time Jeremy's been right in 6 years. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wow.
He's just inconsistent all season. He didn't put up numbers that say pay this guy. So, if I'm the GM, I'm not giving him a long-term deal. And there's another guy behind him, 3rd or 4th on the depth chart, in Jalen Guyton, that last season, really impressed me. I'm really excited to see him hopefully further progress. He's a guy who can take the top off the defense. He can play in the slot. And, with a rocket arm that Herbert has, he can just throw the ball deep to him and, get those deep touchdown passes. So, between that and Keenan being locked down long-term, I don't see Mike Williams getting a deal here.
Yeah, Brian, you already know how I feel about this. I wanted to drop that 5th-year option like no other, or have them extend it. So then we can gain more in the cap. Listen, collarbone surgery first year out. I only think he played 1 game, right, Garth? I mean, he really didn't play that many games his rookie season. At 7th, I think he was the 7th overall pick. Next year, nothing. I mean, it gets to the point where when does it click for him? He has arguably one of the best receivers in the game, and he can't perform in the Y or X position, in the Y X positions. I had an argument with a guy on Twitter saying, "Oh, but he's clutch and 3rd down and this and that." That's great, but is he consistent? There's no consistency for $15.7 million for a guy who one season, I believe, over 1K, in one season over double-digit touchdowns with Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry on your team? Well, I don't get it. I don't understand it. He's always hurt. He always leaves like halftime. He's done for the day. It just doesn't make any sense for me at all to retain the $15.7 million. Tom Telesco needs to swallow some pride and let this one go. This was, like I said, Brian, this was his bad move of the free agency period.
Well, Mike and I have been very critical of a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster because, like, you know, Pittsburgh tends to, like, roll receivers. They never really tend to bring guys back. So I was actually very surprised that he was offered a deal. But Juju was very productive when there was an Antonio Brown on the opposite side, taking a defensive coverage, number one corner, everything else, all the attention. Is it fair to draw the correlation to a guy like Mike Williams where, you know, with Allen on the field, obviously defense is going to go that direction. Why aren't you producing? Because you're up against number two corners. You're not up against the elite guy on the other side of the field. The other team's Derwin James or Minka Fitzpatrick, so to speak. So, you know, you should be more open because you're up against the second guy. And you see flashes, right? But you don't ever see him put it all together for any sustained period of time.
I agree. That's why I was a vocal component for Juju come here. If he signed a 1 year, $8 million deal at the Steelers, I would love to have him for 1 year for $10 million. I would have taken him and lapped my way to the bank. I mean, it's just one of those things where he benefits off other people's success. So I mean, Keenan Allen's going to get his touches. He's going to get his targets, but Juju can reel in those big time money plays with the second or third corner facing him. So I mean, and then Guyton, like Garth said, Guyton would have. I think this would have been Guyton's year if Juju came over here because Guyton would have been the perfect player to play at the X position because he can run those routes.
The only thing with that, though, is you got to worry about, Juju has a good year. Okay, Mike Williams leaves the following year. That's fine. But then you got to pay Juju. And what are you going to pay him?
No, we don't. We're not going to pay him. We don't need to pay him. We go through the draft or go through free agency. Okay. Because Juju's not the number one guy. He can never. He's not a number one.
I agree. Yeah.
Just like Kenny Galladay's not the number one receiver.
We did mention that.
Kind of like I know about Alvin Harper when he was with Dallas, and he got the big contract with the Bucs his first year and did absolutely nothing.
Another player with Charger connections that Mike and I were very critical of was Melvin Gordon. So talk about these running backs who overplay their hand tremendously and hold out for money that they eventually then don't get.
Yep.
Ended up going to a divisional rival, which just felt very spiteful, if nothing else, because I had no idea why a team with the running backs that Denver had gave this guy $1, but neither here nor there. I think he's still signed. We'll see if he actually produces, but it didn't seem from the outside looking in that he was missed at all by the Chargers. I thought that the three-headed monster that they had there, and I like Justin Jackson more than most. Not that Eckler to me is like an every down back, but he has his role.
He's hurt most of the year.
I don't think that they missed anything not paying a running back, and you're never going to get me to castigate anybody who's not paying a running back. I think you never should. From your guys' vantage point, was there anything that was lost in letting him go?
No, not at all. We're kind of following a trend here where Melvin Gordon falls into the same category. As the talent and the skill set was there, he couldn't stay on the field. And also on top of that, there was some inconsistency there where one game he looked like the best running back in the league, and the next he was struggling to get out of the backfield. And then, like you said, Brian, just paying the guy. He wanted way too much money, held out, and then ended up taking less to go to a division rival.
It's like Le'Veon Bell.
But, like you said, Austin Eckler has his role. He's a very good gadget player, really, really good receiving back. But he isn't an every down running back, a guy who's going to have 20, 30 carries between the tackles. We do need to find that guy. I do like Justin Jackson, like you said. He's had some injury problem as well, staying on the field. So, if we did take somebody in the draft, obviously not in the first round, but later on, I wouldn't be upset at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 1,000% agree with Garth. I don't miss. I don't. He was offered. I believe it was $12 million, right, Brian? $12 million for 3 years.
He was offered good money. He just decided he was worth more than that.
I'm so happy that he did not take that deal. Don't need him. Inconsistent. Couldn't find a hole for the life of him. Sometimes he was great. Sometimes he sucked. Not a great passing catching out of the backfield. You saw what Austin Eckler signed for. That's the perfect deal for a player of his caliber. Gets a lot of targets, 100 catches a year, Besides, obviously, this past year he was hurt. But he's a solid player. I love Eckler in this offense. But like Garth said, we need to find someone that could be the red zone guy, like a LeGarrette Blount. We need someone like that who could pound it in because Eckler can't do that. That's just not his role, man. I'm really pissed off that Atlanta signed Davis.
I was thinking the same thing as you were saying it, like that sort of player. But then again, you don't really pay that sort of player. Like they're easy to find.
No,
like
exactly.
A plodder, like nothing that
Yeah. So, quick story to Brian's point. And obviously, I'm a little bit older, so this is going back a little bit. There was a running back for Tampa called Eric Rett, who was actually a decent running back for them. But a month before the draft, he said, "You know what? I want more money, or I'm holding out." That draft, they drafted a running back by the name out of Florida State by Work Done. How did that work out? Eric Rett came in a month after the season started, played the rest of the year out, went off to Baltimore after that, never really saw the daylight again.
I was only in elementary school when that happened.
Yeah, so that's why I practiced the drill, but thanks for bringing it up. I appreciate it. So,
but you just see more and more examples. It's just lather, rinse, repeat with these running backs. Like it just doesn't make sense to commit big money or big picks to this position. And I think that continues to go that way in the league. I mean, really outside of Derrick Henry, that they decided to actually build their offense around, who was a second round pick, I might add. And I know this because he should have been a Cowboy. I'm not doing that tonight. But it wasn't a big resource they put into it. So I don't know. We're seeing, I think, the further and further. To me, I think running backs are getting de-emphasized. Tight ends are getting more emphasized. I think that's kind of like the way that the league is going. That short intermediate type stuff is going to being like play action pass versus, you know, some of the run. Mike, any last questions for you?
No, I'm pretty good. I'm good.
Well, then a little birdie told me that we have a very special announcement to announce on the show tonight.
Oh, yes, we do. Yes.
It's I'm on cloud nine getting a chance to
he's a little moist.
Following announcement.
Yeah, he's a little moist. So.
And I will let Mike Velarde do his thing because we have breaking news.
I was moist until Drew gave me the elementary school comment. So yeah, I'm good now. So yeah, I'm fine.
We do have some breaking news here on the Sports Box, and you know, let's just go for it.
We have breaking news here on the Sports Box.
On smoke, it's all about the cash flow. So come on and get this money, man. Getting paper, and we always do it major on the slow. You know it.
There it is.
Breaking news.
There it is.
Breaking news. Welcome to the family. Drew Trammell bringing the game-winning drive show to the Sports Box starting Wednesday, March the 31st, 9 p.m. Eastern. Drew, you and I go back a ways away. I can't tell you how happy I am to be on the same team. We've gotten a chance to guest back and forth, and it's been a lot of fun. And I'm ear to ear happy that you're part of the family. So tell everybody about Game Winning Drive. Who's on it? What do you guys do? And what can they look forward to now that you're on the Sports Box?
Hey man, first and foremost, thank you guys so much for letting me be a part of the family and my co-host Alex, and it usually is just me and Alex. We start off with my brother. My brother unfortunately has work nights, so it doesn't work. But we are adding 2 more members to the team. You guys will find out next week who that is.
It's actually on the screen already.
Oh, is it on there? Oh, okay, cool then. Yeah,
I'm not good at keeping secrets. So.
My boy Brant Meeks, who's actually been a regular commentator for the Sports Box. He's very, involved with you guys. And our other friend, Ryan Viegel, they are joining our team. So we got a team of 4. We're really excited about that. We talk about, football, just NFL, college football, and fantasy football, which is something that we're very passionate about. I might have to get Garth on there. I didn't know Garth was this in depth with football, so I might have to invite him to come to our shows. Yeah, man, we just talk about what's going on. We're going to recap the weeks. Wednesday nights, as you guys saw, another big thing to say is that, we've been doing this for about a year, and then I've been knowing you guys for about 3 years now almost, which is crazy. Yeah, man, it's just it was time, it was time. We've always had this special bond between you and I and Mike and the other Mike and Tony and all these cats, man, and we've always been a fan of you guys, and you guys always treat us like family, just like we did with you. And man, it just Brian and I had a conversation, and couple things led to this decision, and we just felt like it was time for us to come home. So we feel like this is home for us, and we cannot wait to talk football on the sports outside the sports box, and and it's a lot more easier work. I'll tell you that much.
We had this quote of Charger fans. I had my one. I had to get my second one, so now I have two.
Yeah. Definitely
part of the team. So we're really excited as we get now into the off-field portion of the NFL season, which in many ways is more exciting sometimes than the on-field portion of the NFL season. With draft coming up, we'll be having Brant on. I think Brant and Alex, I might be on next week to talk Washington football team and Cleveland Browns. So we'll get them into the mix. Ryan is a what fan?
You know what? I think he's a Charger fan. I don't know for sure.
See, now I'm ahead.
See, now I'm over my limit. I don't. He's a fan of football, but I mean, just real quick. Yeah, so next Wednesday we're gonna be talking about winners and losers of free agency, what big signings, stuff like that. Then we're gonna go and do a roundtable of 1 through 11 mock draft next week for the first pick to the 11th pick, and discuss each pick that we're gonna decide that we're gonna choose. But yeah, man, I don't know. I gotta look and see what Ryan is. I think he's a Chargers fan, dude.
It could be worse.
Which would be awesome.
Listen, we have enough Eagles fans, no more.
Well, I'll tell you this, guys. What's funny is when we started this, me and Brian, and we started interviewing teams and stuff. We had a guy in the San Diego area that I hooked up with. His name was Luis Rodriguez. He was a real estate guy out there. Leo, and he was a great guy. Let me tell you something. It was almost like he was a media reporter. He knew everything going on in San Diego, everything up and down, back and forth. He even the last year that they moved to LA, he actually moved to LA to get closer to the team and did real estate up there. We lost touch with him, but it was just this guy was like unbelievable. So you guys, the Charger fans are representing out there for all the fans out there. It's amazing.
Long suffering too, I might add. I mean, I if you start looking at fan bases that have just been long suffering, I mean, they're absolutely one that qualifies.
They still want San Diego Chargers back. They still want that team back.
Sadly, that stadium is now gone.
Yeah,
down.
It blows my mind that team didn't win. So another show added to the family. For those of you who just watch, we appreciate obviously watching on Tuesday nights. We do have shows pretty much all nights of the week. I mean, we have 2 UFC shows. Our main UFC show, which is Cage My IQ, was on every Monday night at 8:30. I think they might be keeping that time slot. Fighting Words is on this week on Thursday. We're bringing back Diamond Cutters next week, which is baseball talk on Thursday. Garth and Noah are on Friday nights on Sweet Tea, which is a little Southern flavor, which is talking college and NFL. I mean, they do fantastic work too. So if you just happen to watch the OGs, I mean, we appreciate it, but you need to expand out to the rest of the team, because I think we have about 400 people now as part of the Sports Box or somewhere close to it.
We went from 2 in my basement 6 years ago to about 20 something guys now.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. So I'm over the moon to be working with the both of you. I mean, Garth, you guys do a great job on Friday. You've gotten better and better at it, which you'll freely admit, and you have a lot of fun with it. And to add game-winning drive to the team is just awesome. So as draft gets closer, will be a lot of NFL coverage from really the entire network. So
can we end on the Vita Vea tape?
You want to play the Vita? Okay, all right.
Did you guys see this? Did Drew and Garth? Did you guys see the Vita Vea? Did you guys see this?
I've seen every video Brian does repeatedly all the time.
This is absolutely classic. I wish I would have gave more thing about Derwin James, though. I mean, I sound like an idiot.
I'm surprised you didn't do the Eagles one with Jeremy.
You mean? Hold on.
Oh, he's got it queued up. Here you go. He's changing backgrounds. Look
over there in Minnesota, guys. That's right. EAGLEL Eagles, baby.
There's always the extra consonant in the name. It's beautiful. It's
I did have that on my. Never mind.
Yeah, no, we don't have to do the Vita Vea. That's fine. Obviously,
it's going to come back. It's
classic. It's so classic.
Listen, special thanks to Garth and newest team member Drew for joining the show. Special thanks to Anthony Amedio for joining the show. The very sad Bears fan without a quarterback.
He's away from sharp instruments right now.
The vitriol. I mean, he actually held it together.
He was pretty calm. I'm surprised.
Better than I thought he would. Yeah. So I was waiting for him to actually start dropping bombs. Like he's.
Oh my God, he's hating life right now.
Look at the Sixers, though. I mean, they're doing all right. He's
great. So that's a wrap, folks. Thank you for watching Highly Opinionated and all the guests we had on tonight. For myself, Brian the Ranger Tard, Patrick and Drew, or Garth and Drew. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you next week. Enjoy. Go Bucks.
Please. Let's go Rangers.
Thank you for watching this episode of the highly opinionated show on the Sports Box. Please remember to follow us on all of our social media outlets. On Facebook at Sportsbox Show, Twitter at Sportsbox Show, Instagram at The Sportsbox Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And also our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 free points. Thank you for joining us.